Welcome to English Speak Pulse. I'm Danielle, and today we're diving into something every English learner thinks they know, but almost no one uses correctly in real life: advanced English for daily situations like travel, shopping, and banking.
And I'm Sarah, here to guide you through the kind of English native speakers use without even thinking. The kind that doesn't appear in textbooks, but you hear everywhere in real conversations.
Here's the interesting part. Most learners know basic English phrases. But the moment they step into an airport, a bank, or a hotel, suddenly everything becomes confusing.
Why?
Because real-life English has its own secret phrases, and today, we're revealing them.
And trust me, once you hear these expressions, you'll realize something surprising. You've been using the wrong phrases your whole life, without even knowing it. That's exactly why people hesitate, repeat themselves, or sound unnatural, even when their English is good.
And here's something important. Every single part of today's episode connects to the next. Miss even 1 minute, and you'll miss a phrase that could save you at an airport, help you negotiate while shopping, or make a bank conversation smooth and professional.
So here's the question for you. Do you know the English native speakers use in real-life situations? Or have you only learned the classroom version? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will completely change the way you speak English.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're on a mission, really. We're looking at how to upgrade your confidence in what has to be one of the most high-stakes environments there is, international travel.
Oh, absolutely. Airports, immigration, hotels.
Yeah, all those moments where, your English really, really counts.
It really does.
Yeah.
And there's this paradox we see all the time. Someone can have perfect grammar, ace a test.
Right.
But then they're standing at an airline counter, they're under pressure, and they default to this very basic functional language.
Yeah.
It's correct grammatically, but the tone is just all wrong.
And that sends the wrong message, doesn't it? It can sound like you're not confident or maybe even a little impatient.
Exactly. Or demanding.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our listener is smart. They already know the basics. So our goal today isn't to teach you more English. It's about giving you a very precise tactical toolkit.
Set phrases and a mindset.
Yes, to instantly elevate you from sounding like, say, a functional tourist to a fluent professional world traveler. The whole mission is clarity and confidence.
And that really starts the second you walk into the airport. So let's begin right there, at the check-in counter. That's the first encounter where all the nerves can start to kick in.
Okay, let's do it. So checking luggage. I feel like the literal translation is a trap here. I hear, I want to check my luggage a lot.
So often. And it just screams beginner. It's not wrong, but it sounds like a command.
A demand, yeah.
It lacks what I'd call professional deference. Fluent speakers, especially when you're interacting with service staff, they use modal verbs to soften things.
So what's the upgrade?
It's clean, it's efficient. I'd like to check in my bag, please. Just that one change. I'd like instead of I want. That is the essential upgrade.
It's so small, but it completely changes the dynamic, doesn't it?
It's huge. And it's even more true for specific requests, like asking for a certain seat.
The classic, I want a window seat.
Yeah, that's a common mistake. And it immediately puts the agent on the defensive. Real confidence is shown through polite flexibility, not just being blunt.
Okay, so you need to signal that you understand it might not be possible.
Yes. You need to use what we call a conditional language. So give us the fluent traveler alternative.
Okay, so maybe something like, is there any chance I could get a window seat?
Perfect. Or you could say, if possible, I'd prefer a window seat. You see, you're showing you get how global service standards work. You sound sophisticated.
Right. Now here's where it gets really interesting for me. Handling problems, delays. Travel is full of them.
Always.
That panicked reaction is to just go, my flight is late. Why?
And that's confrontational. And when you're confrontational, you get the absolute minimum level of help.
Right.
A mature traveler isn't looking for blame. They're looking for information. You have to reframe the complaint, make it a request for assistance for context.
So let's say I need to push back a bit. The delay is serious. I need options. How do I sound firm but not, accusatory?
The firmness comes from the clarity of your request, not how frustrated you sound. Instead of why, you use a structure that asks for a solution.
Like what?
Something like, could you help me understand the reason for the delay and what immediate alternatives are being considered. That structure says, I'm focused on a solution, and it just elevates you instantly.
And for updates, we avoid tell me the new time.
Absolutely. You're trying to show you navigate these situations all the time. You ask, could you update me on the new departure time? It signals that you expect professional communication.
Okay, we've made it through the airport. Let's move on to immigration. The power of brevity. This is where everyone I know just freezes up.
It's so critical. We call it the clarity principle. The officer at that desk has one job, really.
To check your document.
To match your verbal answers to what's on your documents. So when they ask, what's the purpose of your visit? And you start this long story about your cousin and your travel plans.
You're just creating complexity.
You're creating complexity where they need simplicity. And that can, unfortunately, raise red flags. It might suggest you're trying to hide something, even when you're just nervous.
I see. So the long, rambling answers actually work against you.
Completely. You have to be surgical with your answers.
Purpose of visit.
Just the category. I'm here for tourism, or I'm here for a business meeting. And that's it. That is the entire answer.
And if they ask, how long will you be staying?
Be precise. I'll be here for 12 days. Let the stamp in your passport do the rest of the talking.
The key insight here seems to be that when you're calm, clear, and brief, you communicate that you're used to this procedure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, if you really don't understand the officer, this is where one of those confidence recovery phrases comes in, saying, could you clarify that for me? Is so much better than just guessing.
That's an excellent point.
Oh.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about hotel confidence. Check-in. We have to upgrade from the basic I have booking.
Oh, that's such a common one. It instantly labels you. The Fluent universal protocol is, hi, I have a reservation under the name, and then your last name.
Simple. Clean. Now, let's hit a friction point. You're tired, you've just arrived, and your room isn't ready.
Yeah, that's tough. You have to avoid that accusatory tone, like, why room not ready?
So what's the move?
You shift immediately to asking about process or options, solution-focused questions. Do you know how long the wait might be? Or, to be a little more proactive, is there a quicker option available for check-in?
That calm, professional tone really does work wonders, doesn't it? It shows respect, but still pushes for a solution.
Precisely. Now, what about maintenance issues? The AC is broken, the Wi-Fi is down.
Instead of just, there's problem in room.
Which is so vague. You need to be specific, and you wrap it in a polite request.
Specificity gets it solved faster.
Absolutely. There seems to be an issue with the AC. Could someone from maintenance take a look, please?
And if it's noise?
The room is a bit noisy this evening. Is it possible to switch to a quieter one? C, you're not complaining. You're framing it as a mutual problem we can solve together.
And this brings us to what you call the universal key phrase.
Yes, my absolute favorite lifesaver phrase. It works everywhere, a bank, a hotel, a restaurant, anywhere. It's polite, it's formal, and it's so helpful.
Okay, what is it? Simply. Could you assist me with that? It immediately signals you need help, but you're respecting their role in providing it.
That's powerful. It puts the responsibility on them, but you're asking so politely. Okay, so we're checked in, everything's working. Now the fun part begins. Exploring. But we need to upgrade our casual English for asking for recommendations. We got to do better than which place is good.
Oh, yeah. That's way too broad. You'll just get a generic touristy answer. Fluent travelers ask open-ended questions that are designed to get, a real, authentic response.
So how do we get those local secrets?
Ask for specifics. Try something like, could you recommend something worth seeing nearby that perhaps isn't in the main guidebooks?
I love that. Or if you're looking for food.
Use this structure. What's something locals usually enjoy around here that you would suggest? The word suggest is key. It invites a personal opinion.
That's a huge upgrade. Now let's talk about ordering food. It's a high-pressure moment. The waiter's standing there. We need to get past, I want this. We do. Use the language of selection. A really natural way to say it is, I'll go with the grilled chicken, please. It sounds smooth and decisive.
And if you need to change something?
Frame it as a conditional request. Could I have the pasta without cheese?
What about allergies or dietary things? How do we ask that confidently, not in a panic?
Quick, specific, and clear. What does this dish come with? Or, very importantly, does this contain nuts? Clarity here is everything.
Okay, we've handled the small stuff. Now for the high-stakes moments, emergencies. When the stress hits, you need language that's almost memorized, right? To stay in control.
Absolutely. Lost luggage. You need procedural language, not emotional language. Immediately focus on the next step. My luggage hasn't arrived. Could you help me file a report?
And missing a flight. Probably the most stressful one.
Be direct and focus on the outcome. I missed my flight. What's the earliest alternative you can offer? You're asking what they can do, not demanding they fix your mistake.
And if you just need urgent help with some confusing process?
You have to cut through the noise. This is urgent. Who can assist me right away? Or my favorite procedural one. Could you walk me through the process? It shows you're focused on getting it done right.
This brings us to the linguistic secret sauce, the thing that really separates an advanced traveler from an intermediate one, the softener words.
This is the core of it, really. The core of sounding polite and professional. Softeners are just those modal verbs and phrases. Could, would, might, possibly. Any chance, do you mind? They turn an order into a request.
It's amazing how those simple words change the psychology for the person listening, isn't it? It makes them feel respected, not ordered around.
Exactly, and they're more likely to help you. Let's do a quick compare and contrast. Basic. Give me the Wi-Fi password.
Advanced. Could you possibly give me the Wi-Fi password?
Right, basic. My room is dirty.
Advanced. My room hasn't been cleaned yet. Could someone take care of it? The difference in perceived competence is just enormous.
And this leads to the really crucial mindset shift we need to talk about. This idea that speaking fast means you're fluent.
That's a huge mental block for learners. They rush, they stumble, and then they panic.
But fluent English, especially when you're under pressure, is actually slow, it's calm, and it's clear. Native speakers are not rushing at the airport counter. Your confidence comes from your tone and your word choice, not your speed.
So the formula is short phrases, polite tone, calm voice, and clear requests.
That's the formula. And finally, let's talk about the psychology of freezing. The noise, the stress, the rush. It makes your brain just want to switch back to your native language.
So all these phrases we've discussed, that they're like pre-planned defense mechanisms.
They are. They're confidence recovery phrases for when your English just disappears. You don't have to invent a sentence under pressure if you have these memorized.
So if someone speaks too quickly or you just didn't understand.
You use one of these to buy time and get back in control. Could you clarify that for me? Or if you missed the whole thing, would you mind repeating that? Or even just a calm, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again?
It keeps you in the English zone instead of panicking. It's so clear that travel English is less about perfect grammar and more about tactical communication.
That's exactly what it is. It's confidence, clarity, and mastering those polite requests that just get you better results. If you can integrate these things, you will never feel lost when you're traveling.
We've given you a whole toolkit today, really, to make sure you sound like you own that boarding pass. And remember that panic moment we talked about where your brain just wants to switch languages?
Mm-hmm.
The most valuable lesson here is that mastering these phrases beforehand acts as a pre-planned confidence recovery system. You're just giving your nervous brain an easy path to follow.
So our challenge for you is simple. Before your next trip, pick just 3 of these, 3 high-utility phrases. Maybe the universal, could you assist me with that? And 2 from the airport section.
And just commit them to memory?
To automatic memory. Say them out loud. Practice them calmly. And then just test the power of that calm voice in your first stressful moment abroad.
It will fundamentally change your entire travel experience.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. So if you're joining us, you've probably moved past the basics of travel English. You know how to get a coffee, find a taxi.
You've got the survival phrases down.
Exactly. But today, we are pushing past that textbook comfort zone. We're getting to the really high-stakes language you need the second you land.
That's so true. And our mission today isn't just about teaching you a list of phrases. It's really about upgrading your confidence for those unpredictable moments. We're focusing on precision.
Precision, I like that.
Yeah, the kind of natural, detailed language you'd need at an immigration desk or when you have to make a really complex complaint or, handle your money.
The real challenge, I think, for most advanced learners is that real-world travel English is just so fast. It's full of these hidden meanings and jargon that your textbook just completely skips over.
Right. And when you're under pressure, maybe you're tired, your flight was delayed, you just need language that's crystal clear.
Okay, so how are we going to tackle this?
We've broken this deep dive into 7 critical travel scenarios. Think of it as your action guide for sounding. Well, for sounding competent, not just technically correct.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. The second you step off the plane, let's unpack the airport experience.
Okay.
So a beginner might just walk up and say something blunt like, where is gate 5? It works, but it sort of signals nervousness, doesn't it?
It does. A more confident traveler uses a slightly different strategy, a bit more politeness, a little more detail. They sort of embed the request in a more nuanced phrase.
So instead of just demanding the location.
Exactly. They'd ask something like, could you point me towards gate 5? Or they might add another layer, confirming the logistics. It shows they're thinking ahead.
Like what? What would they say?
Something like, is boarding already in progress for the flight to London? Or can you just confirm if this is the correct line for international departures? Right. That little bit of extra length and detail, it just instantly makes you sound more fluent.
And speaking of pressure, let's talk about the big one. Immigration. That's probably what raises anxiety for travelers more than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. The anxiety is real, but here's the thing. We can diffuse it because we basically know the script. Immigration officers, they stick to the same 4 core questions pretty much everywhere in the world.
Okay, what are they?
They need to know your purpose, your duration, where you're staying, and your plan to leave. So they'll ask, what's the purpose of your visit? How long do you intend to stay?
Where will you be staying?
Right, and do you have a return ticket? It's almost always those 4.
Okay, here's a question I think a lot of our listeners might have. If I rehearse these perfect detailed answers you're about to give us, won't I just sound like a robot, like I'm reading from a script?
That is a brilliant question. And look, the goal here isn't, literary elegance. A slightly rehearsed, slow, clear statement is infinitely better than a fast, mumbling, or grammatically shaky response.
So clarity over creativity.
Clarity over everything. Compare a poor reply like, I come for visit, with a confident one. I'm here for tourism and sightseeing.
That's a huge difference. You're just giving them the exact category they need to tick a box?
Precisely. If they ask about how long you're staying, be specific. I'll be staying for 10 days. And for location, I've booked accommodation at the Grand Central Hotel, and here's the address.
So you're almost preempting their next question.
Yes. Always offer the evidence, like your return ticket, before they even have to ask for it. The key here is your tone. Clear, slow, and confident. It shows you have nothing to hide. Your primary currency in that moment is just transparency.
Okay, so you've made it through immigration, you've cleared customs, but the stress might not be over. Let's talk about that moment of pure panic. Your suitcase doesn't appear on the carousel. The immediate reaction is to shout, I lose my bag. But that's not really accurate, is it?
It's not. And that distinction is critical. Your bag isn't lost, not yet. It's delayed. And you need to start a formal process. So your first step is a calm, factual statement. My luggage hasn't shown up on the carousel from flight BA249.
Okay, so you state the problem, then you have to pivot to finding the solution.
Correct. Now you need procedural questions. Could you check whether my bag was loaded onto the connecting flight? And this is the most important one. Is there a specific baggage claim form I should fill out here? Sometimes they call it a PIR.
A PIR.
Property Irregularity Report. Asking for that form by name or just asking for the form shows you understand the system. It saves everyone time.
Now let's flip this. What is the airline staff saying back to you? Because they're using specific language to de-escalate the situation, right?
They are. And if you don't know these phrases, you might assume the worst. They will almost certainly use that key distinction. Sir, your bag is delayed, not lost.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Then they'll confirm the plan. They'll say something like, it's scheduled to arrive on the next flight, flight 445, later this evening. And here's the key customer service phrase. We'll arrange for delivery to your hotel free of charge.
That phrase, free of charge, is golden. That saves you a lot of worry right there. And what information will they need from you?
They'll say something like, we require your current contact number and a delivery address for our tracing team. So in this whole scenario, the crisis just comes down to exchanging accurate information politely.
So by knowing both sides of that dialogue, what to say and what you'll hear, you're basically managing a logistical breakdown like a pro.
And you're preventing that immediate panic, which is honestly the biggest cost of a missing bag.
That's excellent. Okay, so speaking of logistics, let's move to something that should be calmer, but where terminology still really matters. Checking into your hotel. You've got to move beyond just saying, I have booking.
Right. That transition from I have booking to something more professional, it just signals that you know how this works. You should start with a full statement. Hi, I have a reservation under the name, your full name, arriving today.
And once you've established that, you can start asking those little detail questions that can really improve your stay.
Exactly. You're showing control over the details. You can ask, could you confirm whether breakfast is included with this rate? Or if you're early, you can ask for flexibility, but politely.
How would you phrase that?
Instead of a demand, you make it a soft inquiry. Is there an early check-in option available, perhaps for an extra fee? That one word, perhaps, it just softens the whole question.
Right. Now, the front desk will often use jargon that trips people up, especially about money. So the staff might say, "May I see your passport?" And a deposit is required for incidentals. What are incidentals?
This is such a critical aha moment for learners. Incidentals is just the hotel's word for any extra unplanned charges. So anything from the minibar, room service to, potential damages.
So the deposit is just security against those charges.
That's all it is. They'll put a hold on your credit card for, say, $100. If you don't touch the minibar, that hold gets released when you check out. If you spend $20, they'll charge you the $20 and release the rest.
Understanding that really prevents the stress when you see a big hold on your credit card statement later.
It absolutely does.
And what if the room itself is the problem? The air conditioning is rattling or the shower is leaking. You have to complain, but politely.
Right. High-level complaints need diplomatic language. Instead of saying something is broken, describe its function. The air conditioning doesn't seem to be working properly in room 502.
That gives them actionable information.
Precisely. And if you think you need a different room, don't demand it. Try something like, the room isn't quite what I expected, maybe because of the street noise. Is an upgrade or a quieter room available? It just opens the door for a solution.
Speaking of efficiency, let's talk about getting around. Once you're checked in, you need to navigate the city. We have to move past where bus.
Yes. We have to. Route intelligence is everything. You need to know the path and the pace. So you ask, where does this bus route go? Or how often do the trains run during rush hour?
And for a taxi or a ride share, it's about availability and precision.
Right, a simple confirmation. Is this taxi available? And when you're inside, be exact with the destination. Could you drop me off near the main entrance of the museum, please?
I know there are some, what you call gold phrases, that really signal you understand how complex transport systems work.
Yes, these are the distinction phrases. They show you've done your homework. Asking, is this the express train or the local one? That can save you an hour.
That's a huge one.
Another is, does this route require a transfer or is it direct? And probably the most useful phrase for any tourist. Could you let me know when we reach my stop? I'm not familiar with the area. It's polite, it's functional, it's necessary.
And I guess the overall theme is to soften the inquiry. So instead of, how do I get there, you might say,
what's the quickest way to get to the city center right now? Or for the bus, do I need exact change for the fare or can I use a card? That confident, easy cadence just changes the whole interaction.
All right, let's take that confidence to the dinner table. Restaurant English. It's partly about food, but it's also about managing the whole payment process.
That's a great way to put it.
First, the menu. The upgrade is simple. Could I take a look at the menu, please? And then you can engage the waiter.
Right. Ask for help. What dishes would you recommend for someone who enjoys seafood? And customization is key for allergies or just preference. Don't be shy.
So you could say something like,
is this meal customizable? I have a mild allergy to dairy. Or could you make the curry a little less spicy than usual?
Then comes the end of the meal. And this is where cultural norms about money can get really confusing.
Oh, they really can. You need a few fluent financial phrases ready to go. If you're with a group, could we get separate checks, please? Or if you're paying for everyone, maybe, is it all right if I pay with 2 different cards?
And the big one, tipping. Gratuity. It's so different everywhere.
This is a perfect example of where language meets culture. You have to clarify. Ask, is gratuity already included in the total?
Because in many places, a service charge is already added.
Exactly, and knowing that stops you from double tipping. You could even ask, is the service charge optional? And then, of course, the quick exit. Could I have the rest of this to go?
It seems like restaurant English is less about knowing the word for fork and more about the confidence to manage the money side of things.
That's 50% of it, easily.
Okay, let's apply that same savvy approach to shopping, moving past, how much is this?
We want to sound like a savvy customer, not just a casual browser.
And a savvy customer asks about logistics, about options, about protection.
That's it. So, do you have this jacket in a medium, maybe in gray, or is there a fitting room I could use? And for anything valuable, you have to ask about what happens after you buy it.
The warranty question.
The essential protection question. Does this come with a warranty and for how long?
What about price? If you're in a place where prices might be a little flexible, how do you ask about that without sounding aggressive.
The right way is to just test the waters politely. Ask, is this the final price or is there any flexibility? You could even add, perhaps if I paid in cash.
Why does that work so well?
Because it's an inquiry about the system, not a demand for a discount. It shows you're a serious buyer and you understand that sometimes there are different retail practices. It's culturally aware.
And what if something goes wrong after the purchase? You need the right vocabulary.
You do. You need to know the difference between a refund that's getting your money back and an exchange, which is just swapping the item.
And if the item is broken?
You describe it as defective or not working properly. You also need to know if a replacement is in stock or out of stock. And always keep your receipt if you want a refund or what's called store credit.
That's a fantastic toolkit for any shopper. All right, our final scenario, and maybe the most critical for accuracy, banking.
Yes, accuracy here is completely non-negotiable. The consequences are financial.
I can imagine just looking at an ATM screen or a bank form and seeing words that are just completely confusing.
There are a few key terms. You'll always see account balance. That's how much money you have. Withdrawal limit, how much you can take out per day. Processing fee, the cost of the transaction.
And if you're using a foreign card,
international transaction charges. Knowing those 4 terms defines your access to your own money.
okay, so let's walk into a physical bank. How do we use those terms?
If you're opening an account, you might say, I'd like to inquire about opening a short-term savings account. Or if you have one, you might need to ask, could you explain the monthly maintenance fee on this account?
And for cash access at an ATM, what's the most important question to ask?
The one that saves you from major headaches. Is there a daily withdrawal limit for international cards at this ATM? And for admin stuff, could you update my contact details on file?
Now for the real test, an emergency. Your card is stolen or blocked. You have to act fast.
You need these phrases on autopilot. You state the problem directly. My card has been blocked. If you see a weird charge, you declare, I didn't authorize this transaction. And the most important action, could you please freeze my account temporarily?
In banking, that clear language is literally your financial security.
It is.
So if you've really taken in the phrases and, I think more importantly, the strategies we've talked about today, you're operating at a much higher level. You have the tools for those unpredictable moments that just leave 90% of learners feeling totally overwhelmed.
That's the real value of this deep dive, I think. We've shown that advanced travel English is really a strategic toolkit. It's about being exact, polite, and just, effective when your money or your time is on the line.
We've covered all this transactional success, the check-in, the purchase, the complaint. But here's our final thought for you to think about as you continue your journey. We taught you how to manage the transaction itself.
But what happens in the 30 seconds after? The real next level challenge is handling the spontaneous social chat that happens once the business is done. You've successfully complained about your room, and now the clerk is asking you, so what are your plans for the rest of your trip? How do you pivot from that precise transactional language to a fluid, open-ended social conversation? That transition, that's the next layer of confidence to build. Welcome back to the deep dive. You know how it goes, right? You feel pretty comfortable with your English, you can handle meetings, read articles, but then real life happens. That moment when the hotel booking is wrong, or there's a weird fee on your bank statement, or a server just speaks so fast you catch maybe, 3 words. It's those unexpected high-pressure situations, the confusion, the noise, the speed, that make even a confident speaker feel like they've slipped all the way back to being a beginner. And suddenly you need advanced English, not for some deep philosophical discussion, but for a very immediate, very annoying problem. So our mission today is to give you a shortcut. We're going beyond just basic politeness to master what we're calling advanced problem-solving English. This deep dive is all about the strategic phrases native speakers use to navigate that chaos, to make sure you get results without panic or confrontation.
Exactly. What we've done is we've looked at the language used by really effective communicators across different settings, travel, shopping, banking, and the key benefit here is really psychological. This kind of language keeps you calm, it maintains your confidence, and it ensures you stay in control even when things feel like they're falling apart. We're going to give you word-for-word strategies that are professional, polite, and most importantly, effective. This isn't just about sounding nice, it's about shifting the power dynamic back in your favor to get a fast solution.
Okay, let's jump right in. We'll start with what the sources say is the #1 friction point.
Yeah.
just a basic misunderstanding. It's completely unavoidable, right? It's caused by noise, accents, unfamiliar words. And when you're on the receiving end, when someone says something you don't catch, the gut reaction for a lot of learners is just panic. Or they use those really aggressive shortcuts like, what? Or say again.
Oh, yeah.
And that just instantly puts the other person on the defensive.
And this is exactly where we see the move to truly advanced English. Native speakers almost never use those sharp, short demands. They use what we can call the soft ask. They leverage conditional language to soften the request. So you really want to have these phrases ready. Instead of demanding they repeat, you say, sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it one more time? The key word is could, or if speed is the problem. Would you mind repeating that a bit more slowly? That phrase, would you mind, is one of the most powerful softeners in English.
I love that. It's the conditional language, isn't it? It completely transforms a demand into a polite request for help. But what if it's not the speed, but it's jargon? You know, they use a term you just never heard before.
Then you're honest, but you're professional about it. You say, I'm not familiar with that term. Could you clarify what you mean by that? It shows you're listening, but you just need a little more information. Or, if you're pretty sure you understood, you can confirm it. Something like, just to make sure I got it right, you mean, we need to go to the main terminal.
So what's the real strategic benefit here? Why bother with that extra layer of politeness?
Well, the psychology is pretty simple. When you ask calmly and politely, you're signaling that you're cooperative. And that automatically makes the other person want to help you more. They'll slow down, they'll speak more clearly, and that just speeds up the whole process. You're actually controlling the pace by being polite.
Okay, let's try a quick scenario. You're at an airport check-in desk, and the agent says really quickly something like, your luggage is being rerouted due to regulatory checks. That's high stress, high jargon. Right.
So instead of just nodding and hoping for the best, you interrupt with control. You say, sorry, I didn't quite catch the specifics on the luggage. Did you mention it was being rerouted? We'll see. You isolated the confusing part, you got the clarification you needed, and you sounded completely composed. That is maintaining control.
You nailed it. Maintaining control. Okay, let's flip it because this happens to all of us. What happens when someone else doesn't understand you? Maybe it's your accent, or you spoke too fast, or they were distracted. They just say sorry, or what was that?
This is where a lot of speakers just lose all their confidence. They fumble, they stutter, or worse, they use those awful phrases like, or the absolute worst one, never mind.
Yes.
It's like you're just giving up on your own point.
Precisely. Giving up signals you weren't even sure of what you were saying. The advanced move here is what we call confident rephrasing. You have to signal that you know what you said was right. You just need to present it a little differently. So you use phrases that sound like leadership, something like, let me rephrase that. That's a very proactive, confident move, or what I'm trying to say is, and then you follow it with a simpler version.
You could also try to clarify. That's very efficient. Or for moments when you realize, okay, my first attempt was too complicated, you can pivot with, another way to put it is, or even in simpler terms, we need to focus on the Q4 numbers. And this is where it really links to professional maturity. When you use these phrases, you're showing your patient you're in command of the information and you respect the conversation enough to make sure it's clear. You're not flustered. You're just adjusting. And that gives the other person confidence in you as well.
Okay, now that we've covered general clarification, let's get into those really specific high-stakes scenarios. Starting with the classic travel nightmare. A booking goes wrong. You get to the hotel, 9-hour flight behind you, and the person at the desk says, I can't find your name. The frustrated response, the one we all feel, is to get aggressive. My booking is right here, check again, or I already paid, what's the problem?
Right.
And that just flips them into defense mode and all the problem solving just stops.
The strategy for travel issues has to be collaboration. You're not fighting the clerk. You're working with them to solve a puzzle in their system. So we rely on open-ended requests and that conditional tense again. You start soft. I believe I have a reservation under your name. Could you double check the system for me? If they still can't find it, you offer solutions, not blame. I may have booked under my spouse's name. Would you mind checking that as well? You're helping them narrow it down.
That's a great point. You're taking responsibility for a possible mistake, even if you're sure you didn't make one, just to move things along. And the source material really stresses that you should immediately offer your evidence.
Yes. Here's my confirmation number if it helps. The key is you're presenting it as a tool for them to use, not as proof that they failed. And you always need a backup plan. If, for some reason, that room isn't available, would it be possible to look at some alternatives? You've already shown you're reasonable.
That collaborative frame is everything. It makes the employee your ally, not your opponent.
Okay, so let's move from the hotel to the store. Let's talk about when you get the wrong item. You ordered a large blue sweater, you get a small red shirt. Simple mix-up, but, it's annoying. Again, you have to avoid that unhelpful exclamatory language, "This is wrong," or "I didn't order this." That language just focuses on the mistake. The advanced language focuses on the solution.
Right, so instead, use neutral, factual phrases. Something like, "I think there might have been a mix-up with my order. See how I think and might have been just softens it all." Or a very neutral statement, "This doesn't seem to match what I requested."
And if you need to get a staff member, you focus on the request for help, not the error. "Could you help me check this against my receipt?" And then you jump straight to the fix. Is it possible to replace it with the correct one? Problem solved. Zero tension.
Okay, let's tackle a big one. One of the most intimidating places for a non-native speaker. The bank. The environment is full of jargon, it's very institutional, and if you can't communicate clearly, it can have real financial consequences.
Banks value clarity more than anything. If you speak clearly, slowly, confidently, they take you seriously. The strategy here isn't just politeness, it's what we call strategic verification. It's about gaining information and making sure you understand everything perfectly.
So if you see a transaction you don't recognize, you don't start by yelling fraud. You seek verification first. "I'd like to verify a recent transaction." Then you move to a strategic request for guidance. "Could you walk me through this charge? I don't immediately recognize it." You're asking them to lead you through it.
Absolutely. And if you're confused about a policy or fees, you have to use language that simplifies things. Don't say, "I don't get it."
Yeah.
Instead say, "Is there a simpler explanation for how this process works?" Or when it's about money, "I'd appreciate it if you could explain the fees again so I could fully grasp the details."
And I think the most important one, especially with account stuff, is that proactive update phrase. "Could you help me update the information on my account?" That frame, "Could you help me?" makes it collaborative. You're not ordering them around.
Precisely. You're asking for their expertise to assist you, which always works better.
Okay, let's move on to our next section. Handling those unavoidable delays. A late flight, a delivery, a repair, it's just part of modern life. When something's late, that frustration can lead to those accusatory questions like, "Why is this late?" Which, frankly, gets you no useful information. We need polite, professional alternatives that focus on getting a timeline.
Right. The professional approach is to seek information so you can manage your own time, not to assign blame. Start simply. "Could you update me on the status, please?" You can even add, "I'm just trying to plan my next steps." It justifies why you're asking. If you need a timeline, be specific. Is there an estimated time for completion? The word estimated shows you get that it's not an exact science. And to manage your own schedule, just ask, "Do you know approximately when this will be ready? Should I wait here or come back later?"
That "should I wait here or come back later" is brilliant. It shows you respect their time, which makes them much more likely to give you a straight answer. Now, for a truly advanced skill in any language, disagreeing politely. In a professional setting, you have to be able to state a different view without being rude or confrontational.
Yeah, the strategy for this is a kind of social choreography. You must, and this is non-negotiable, you must validate the other person's point before you introduce your own. So use these key softening phrases. "I see your point, but I'm concerned about the feasibility of the timeline." See? Or, "That's an interesting approach. However, my perspective is slightly different based on the budget." You're separating the idea from the person.
And the real power move here is to own your perspective instead of attacking their proposal. You can try. "I understand the intention behind that. Could I offer another viewpoint that addresses long-term maintenance?" And if you're not totally convinced but you don't want to shut them down, you use hedging language. "There's one thing I'm not entirely convinced about regarding the implementation phase. It's measured, it's respectful, and it's very intelligent communication."
And finally, let's talk about the meta problem, the one that causes the most stress of all. What if you know something is wrong, but you just can't find the words to explain the problem? You're completely stuck.
This is where you pull out the linguistic safety nets, what we call the universal emergency phrases. These work everywhere because they're all about asking for help, for collaborative guidance. You're transferring the burden of explanation to the expert. You can start by admitting the difficulty, but without sounding defeated. "I'm not sure exactly how to explain this, but something feels incorrect about the total."
And then you immediately ask for guidance. Could you please guide me through this specific step? Or the classic, which is humble but still confident. I might be misunderstanding the policy. Could you help me out by explaining it again? These phrases show you're willing to learn and you want to be correct. They work because you're basically saying, help me get this right. A great one is, before I proceed, could you just confirm this is the correct document?
So we've covered a lot of ground, from simple clarification all the way to navigating bank errors and professional disagreements. Let's try to boil this down into the ultimate confidence trick for you. The ultimate trick is this. The calmer and more controlled your language is, the more power you actually have in a difficult situation. Confidence in English isn't about how fast you speak or how big your vocabulary is. It's measured by clarity, slowness, and control.
That's it. If something unexpected happens tomorrow, the most important advice is this. Take a deep breath. Use one of the polite conditional phrases we've talked about. You will instantly sound like a professional, capable native speaker who commands respect.
So you now have the toolkit to handle any of these scenarios: managing booking errors, correcting charges, leading a polite disagreement. You're equipped to handle friction with real sophistication.
And here's the final provocative thought to take with you. The sources we looked at make it undeniably clear that successful outcomes in these high-friction situations are directly tied to how soft and cooperative your language is. The real power of these advanced phrases isn't in their complexity. It's in the strategic shift you make from a combative stance, I demand satisfaction, to a collaborative one. Let's fix this together.
A calm tone plus soft phrasing equals a fast resolution. And really, that's the true definition of maturity and effectiveness in communication.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you're an advanced English learner, you know the grammar, you have the vocabulary, but there's still this massive frustration point.
Yeah.
The moment you're in a common, high-stakes daily situation, say, trying to correct a mistake on a prescription or managing a complicated order at a packed restaurant, and you just freeze.
You fall back on the basics.
Exactly. You fall back on basic functional English, and suddenly you sound vague, or worse, kind of blunt and demanding.
That gap between knowing English and really using it fluently is huge. Many learners can write a perfect essay, but they lack the specific, natural, native-level phrasing for these sensitive interactions.
It's just like they haven't mastered the art of, what would you call it? Structured politeness.
It's a perfect way to put it. It's the mechanism that ensures the interaction actually ends successfully.
So our mission today is to cut through that complexity. We're digging into the source material to extract the precise, actionable phrasing you need for these essential everyday scenarios.
We want to move you beyond just functional English to truly fluent professional self-reliance.
And we'll keep coming back to this core idea, right?
Yeah.
That true advanced English isn't about having the largest vocabulary.
Not at all. It's about deploying clarity, precision, and tone consistently. A clearly structured, polite sentence is not just better manners, it's a rapid problem-solving tool.
Okay, so let's unpack this immediately. Let's start with a universal experience where communication can really go sideways.
The restaurant.
The restaurant. When you're there, anyone can handle the basics. I want the salad.
Right.
But real-world dining involves customization, negotiation, dietary restrictions, and managing all these logistical details gracefully. This is where fluent phrasing really shines.
Exactly. We start by shifting the power dynamic. Instead of phrasing things as a demand or asking simple factual questions, you use these polite inquiries. You invite the server into the decision-making process.
So you're not just saying, what's good here?
Right. You elevate it. You say something like, could you recommend something signature from your menu?
That's a great shift. That little change from what is it to could you recommend? It signals that you value their expertise.
It does. And when the stakes are higher, like with allergies, the language needs to be clinical. It needs to be precise.
No room for error there.
Absolutely not. This is non-negotiable for safety. You have to identify the issue clearly and immediately offer a path forward for the staff.
So what does that sound like?
I'm allergic to nuts. Could you suggest dishes that don't contain nuts?
Yeah.
See the structure. Statement of constraint, then a specific request for action.
I think where many learners hesitate is with customization. If you want something specific, less salt, more spice, they often feel like they're being rude for asking.
They do. And the way around that is to frame it as a possibility. You use modal verbs that soften the request, like, would it be possible to make this less spicy?
Or you could ask about the kitchen's capabilities, like, is it feasible to substitute the rice for vegetables?
Yes. You're essentially asking permission, not dictating the preparation. It's a huge difference in tone.
That's a great distinction. Now, what about logistics? The things you forget until the end of a long meal?
Oh, right, with the check. The basic learner might just awkwardly wave down the server and gesture, but the fluent communicator uses specific, efficient phrases.
Such as?
Could we get separate checks for the table or for leftovers? Do you offer a takeaway option for leftovers? You're managing the whole experience professionally.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. Handling an order mistake. When the wrong plate arrives, the knee-jerk reaction for any one native speaker or learner is often frustration.
It is. But how you handle it is the true test of fluency, and it's deeply cultural. You can't just point and say, this is wrong.
So what's the native style approach?
The source material points out that the best speakers use respectful buffers. These are phrases that, protect the server's dignity or save their face while you're correcting the error.
So give me an example. What does that sound like?
Instead of an accusation, you phrase it as a potential systemic error. Excuse me, I believe there's been a mix-up with the orders. Could we check again?
Or something a bit more formal, maybe.
Yeah, you could say, this isn't quite what I requested. Could you assist me in clarifying?
Ah, I see the linguistic trick there. You're not saying you made a mistake, but rather something has gone wrong.
Precisely. And that nugget of insight is so powerful. These polite structures solve problems quickly because they signal respect. It's collaborative problem solving, not a confrontation.
And when you save someone's face, they're much more motivated to fix the error for you immediately.
Instantly.
Okay, let's transition from customization to high-stakes clarity. The pharmacy.
This environment is so difficult because you're dealing with technical terms, precise dosages.
Yeah.
There's just no room for ambiguity.
None. And this is where vague language can actually be dangerous. We need language that's calm, clear, and focused on safety.
So if you're asking for advice for something common, like a headache, you lead with the symptom and request guidance, not a specific product. I'd like something for a headache. Could you recommend a suitable over-the-counter medicine?
And crucially, protecting against dangerous interactions requires these upfront, unambiguous warnings.
Yes. If you have an allergy, it must be stated immediately, clearly, and without softening the language too much.
What's the phrase for that?
Something like, I must inform you I'm allergic to penicillin. Could you suggest an alternative that is safe? The must inform you part adds that necessary layer of gravitas.
Now, once you have the medicine, the basic learner might just take the bottle and leave. But the fluent communicator, they engage in that essential Q&A about safety.
They have to. You need to confirm the 3 W's, when, why, and what if.
Okay, break those down.
How often should I take this medicine and for how many days? Are there any side effects I should be aware of, especially regarding driving? And if it's a complicated application, you never assume. Could you explain the proper procedure for using this?
That detail about driving and side effects is such a great example of advanced fluency. You're thinking of the practical implications, not just the grammar of the question.
Exactly. And let's address prescription errors. In a busy pharmacy, mistakes happen. You can't panic, but you have to verify.
So how do you check for an error without sounding like you're distrusting the professional?
The calm, checking language is key. You start by opening the door to the error gently. I think there might have been a minor oversight with my prescription detail.
Then you move into verification mode.
Right, especially with numbers and names. Because misheard numbers are so common, you make the pharmacist confirm the data. Just to clarify, this bottle says 10 milligrams. Can you confirm this isn't meant to be 20 milligrams?
Or for names.
Could you spell the active ingredient for me just so I can look it up later?
What's fascinating here is that fluency in a pharmacy isn't about speed. It's about slowing down. It's about structured clarity.
It is. Pharmacists are trained to respond better to those calm verification questions because it ensures safety for everyone. It makes the entire interaction more efficient in the long run.
Okay, let's pivot to technical difficulties.
Yeah.
When your new gadget breaks or the Wi-Fi dies, the source material points out this common mistake. The reactive emotional language, the it's broken, fix it approach.
Right, and that rarely works. That language immediately puts the support agent on the defensive. The preferred native style phrasing is to report the issue objectively, frame it as a shared problem.
So instead of demanding a fix, you're requesting assistance.
Exactly. I'm having some trouble with this product. Could you assist me in diagnosing the issue?
Or, using more technical, non-accusatory language, it seems to be malfunctioning after the last software update. Would you mind checking the diagnostics?
See, you sound like a collaborator, not an angry customer. That shift is huge.
And professional problem solving also involves navigating the system itself. You need specific phrases for warranties, timelines.
Of course, you have to ask about the framework. For instance, could you explain the warranty process and what documentation I need to provide?
Okay, and this is a common point of frustration for every consumer. Escalation. When you feel stuck in that first tier of support, how do you politely but firmly ask to move up the chain?
You have to acknowledge the agent's limitations while clearly stating your need. A golden phrase here is, I appreciate your time, but given the technical nature of this issue, could I speak to someone with more specialized expertise?
That is perfect. It's polite, but it signals that the current conversation has reached its limit.
And then remember the follow-up details. What's the expected timeline for the repair? What is the best number for status updates? Getting that contact info is essential.
We see a similar requirement for remote professionalism when dealing with food delivery errors.
Yes. When placing a customized order remotely, you need to be perfectly clear. Use structured requests. I'd like to place an order for delivery, please, and I have 2 specific customization requests. Is that possible to accommodate?
And if the food arrives incorrectly.
The language stays polite, but you must be firm about the necessary correction or compensation. You present the facts clearly.
So you don't just say, my soup is cold.
No, you say, this order seems different from what I requested. The soup is cold and the side salad is missing. Could it be corrected? Or, when seeking compensation, given the missing items, could you provide a credit or replacement for the meal?
Politeness in these scenarios is not weakness.
Not at all. It's a strategic tool for getting the results you want quickly.
Let's move to one of the most common daily needs. Confident navigation. Asking for directions is a task almost everyone struggles with.
Yeah, often defaulting to these vague questions that just confuse the person they're asking.
Right, we need to upgrade past the confusing basic where.
You start with a confident, structured approach that respects their time. Use a clear setup. Excuse me, I hope you can help me. Could you tell me the most efficient way to get to place?
And immediately integrate planning questions. Don't just ask where it is, ask how to get there in context.
Exactly. Is it within comfortable walking distance, or would I be better off taking a local bus? That tells the local exactly how much detail to provide you.
But the real challenge comes when the locals start speaking quickly, rattling off a long list of turns and landmarks. How do you, as a Fluent learner, slow them down without sounding completely lost?
You have to interrupt gracefully and use active listening phrases. If you feel lost, stop and check the last piece of information they gave you.
Like what?
I think I may have missed the name of that street. Could you confirm if I turn left onto Elm Street? Or if you just need them to slow down, a gentle request. I apologize, that was a lot of information quickly. Would you mind repeating the directions more slowly, starting from the intersection?
That phrase, I apologize, that was a lot of information quickly, is so much better than just saying speak slower.
Oh, absolutely. It shows self-awareness and respect for the speed of native speech.
And this confidence and clarification, it extends to public transport logistics too.
It does. You need specific language for buying tickets and understanding complex fare structures. For instance, could you explain the different fare options for a one-way ticket versus a daily pass?
Or for longer-term planning.
Is there a weekly or monthly pass available, and where can I purchase it?
And inevitably, problems come up. A ticket machine malfunctions, a train is delayed.
You need clear reporting language here too. If you suspect a billing error, I believe my card was charged incorrectly for this fare. Could you review the transaction, please?
Or handling the consequences of unexpected delays. The true test of travel fluency.
Yes. I missed my connecting train due to the previous delay. What are my available options for rebooking?
And you can add, is there any compensation for the missed connection?
The synthesis is clear. Confidence, structured politeness, and active clarification are the keys. You're proving that you are engaged in finding the solution, not just a passive recipient of help.
Okay, we have saved the 2 most stressful scenarios for last. Formal complaints and emergencies. Complaining politely is truly an advanced linguistic skill.
It is. It has to avoid appearing rude while simultaneously resolving a significant issue.
It requires structure. The basic learner might just state the problem and demand a fix, but the Fluent learner uses that 4-part method: acknowledgement, issue, request, solution.
That structure guarantees you sound rational and professional.
So let's break that structure down. How do you start the acknowledgement and transition into the issue gracefully?
You start with a soft introduction, something that recognizes their humanity. I understand that things are busy or that these things happen, but I'd like to bring a significant issue to your attention.
Then you state the issue clearly, but without personal blame.
Right. My flight was canceled without notification, and I have a critical connection to make.
Next comes the request and the solution.
Right.
This is where you put the ball back in their court while guiding them to a resolution.
Exactly. The request should be framed as a question seeking guidance. Could you advise me on the next steps to get rebooked? Or, if you know the ideal solution, phrase it as a polite suggestion.
For example,
I would greatly appreciate it if you could secure a seat on the next available flight to my destination. That de-escalation language, I understand these things happen, it just smooths the path.
that structure is so powerful because it stops you from spiraling into emotion and keeps the conversation focused on what to do next.
Right.
Now let's shift to the absolute highest stakes emergencies. When adrenaline is high, calm, clear, and actionable, English is vital.
In a crisis, you have to avoid rambling. Clarity is speed. You need direct and immediate requests, starting with the goal, I need assistance immediately. Or, could you call for help? I need an ambulance, please.
And the source material stresses the importance of structured, concise information delivery.
You have to. You must organize the location and condition concisely. Use short declarative sentences. There's an emergency at location. The specific address is 123 Main Street, apartment B.
And then a condition.
I'm not feeling well. I believe I need immediate medical attention. Or, if you're reporting a scene, there has been an accident. The victim is unconscious but breathing.
In a crisis, those clear, short sentences, free of unnecessary adjectives, are the fastest way to get help. That is the definition of functional, advanced fluency.
It really is.
So we've executed a major deep dive today, covering essential phrasing for 9 crucial scenarios: restaurants, pharmacies, service centers, directions, public transport, food delivery, complaints, and emergencies.
And across all of them, we found that true fluency doesn't rely on luck or just memorization. It relies on mastering the structural techniques that separate the basic learner from the confident communicator.
We can really distill these into the golden rules of fluency in these high-stakes situations.
Rule 1, speak clearly and use a calm tone, especially when you're reporting errors. Rule 2, be proactively polite. Use softening modal verbs like could and would.
Rule 3, clarify when you're confused. Don't just pretend you understood a complex direction or a dosage instruction. Your clarification shows engagement, not incompetence.
Rule 4, offer precise information, especially when you're dealing with safety, finance, or technical issues. Specificity is your greatest asset.
And the final rule, which kind of enables all the others: stay confident, even if you make a minor vocabulary or grammar mistake. The power of a structured, polite request will cover a multitude of minor errors.
Absolutely. It ensures a successful outcome. True fluency isn't just about vocabulary size. It's about consistently deploying structured, polite phrasing that ensures fast resolution and mutual respect in every single interaction.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? We've seen that advanced English isn't a destination reached by learning obscure words, but a daily practice achieved through consistently deploying structured, polite phrasing. So here's the thought I want to leave you with. If the core goal of communication is fast resolution and mutual respect, how much psychological confidence do you instantly gain simply by choosing to swap one rude or vague basic sentence for a clearly structured, polite request? This commitment to structure transforms potential moments of stress into exercises in professional self-reliance. Thank you for joining the deep dive.
Okay, let's get into this. For today's deep dive, we're not really looking at academic English, the grammar rules. We're looking at practical, real-world English, the kind of fluent, confident communication you need in those high-stakes, fast-moving situations.
Think airports, bank meetings, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And that's really the critical pivot here, because a lot of very skilled English learners, they've mastered the vocabulary, the sentence structure, but they still hit a wall.
A kind of freeze.
Yes, a communication freeze, right when they need to advocate for themselves, whether it's negotiating a price or, trying to resolve a weird banking charge.
Or just dealing with a travel disaster.
Right. The pressure just strips away all that confidence.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to extract some ready-to-use phrases and structures, a sort of shortcut.
A shortcut to sounding articulate and in control even when your pulse is racing. This is really about moving from being just, linguistically correct to being rhetorically powerful. And I think the first place people feel that vulnerability is negotiation.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when shopping or dealing with services, there's this cultural fear of sounding rude or too demanding.
And what's so fascinating is that successful negotiation in English is, well, it's the complete opposite of a confrontation. It is pure, structured persuasion.
You're inviting them into a solution, not starting a fight.
Precisely. You're not issuing a challenge.
So if it's not confrontational, what's the essential structure for that? For making a request that's smooth and effective?
It's a 3-part framework. And it's so effective because it signals respect right from the start. We call it appreciation, then a polite request, and finally, reasoning.
Appreciation, polite request, reasoning. So you justify your position before you even really ask for the change.
You got it. And the mechanics here is not just the words, it's the modality, right?
You mean using words like would and could?
Exactly. Those modal verbs are the engine driving the politeness. They create a little distance between you and the demand, which signals flexibility.
So instead of give me a discount, which sounds very blunt.
Right. You use phrases that are more conditional, more invitational, like, would you consider a discount if I buy 2? You're not demanding. You're just exploring a possibility.
Or another one could be, I really like this item, but my budget is a bit limited. Can we work something out?
Yes, that's perfect. You've stated your constraint, you've given a compliment, and you've asked for collaboration. It's smart.
And what if you've done your homework?
Well, that's when you can bring in some external information. You hit them with that confident comparison. I noticed a similar product elsewhere at a lower price. Could you match it?
And that word could, it's asking if they are able to, not assuming they will.
That's the key.
We see this structure play out perfectly in the electronics store example. So let's say you're at the counter, you want a new laptop. How do you start that negotiation?
You start with context, a sort of soft challenge, something like, I really appreciate the features of this laptop. However, I did see a comparable model for a bit less at a competitor store.
So you've opened with appreciation.
And then you make the ask, given that, could you possibly match that price? You've used the other price as your reasoning.
Okay, and this is where the escalation can happen so gracefully. Let's say the manager offers, 5% off. A lot of people would just stop there.
But you have leverage. You can pivot the conversation.
To an additional purchase.
Right. You accept their initial offer to build goodwill, and then you push just a little further. You say, thank you, that's helpful. Now, if I also purchased the laptop bag and an extended warranty today, would it be possible to round the total discount to 10%?
So you've moved the focus from one item to the total value of the sale.
You walked in wanting one thing, and now you're getting a bundle deal. That's how sounding articulate doesn't just solve problems, it can actually save you money.
It's about being precise, not pushy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's transition from simple transactions to real high-pressure scenarios. We're talking travel delays, complex banking issues.
These are situations where anxiety is high, and clear structured English isn't just for clarity, it's for speed. You need a fast resolution.
Yeah, when you're at an airport counter after an 8-hour delay, chaos is everywhere. Your focus has to be on staying calm and getting precise information.
Panicking just leads to miscommunication.
So for travel delays, you need to cut straight to the point. Get specific information, find out the alternatives. You need to sound like you know what you need.
The must-use phrases here, they get rid of all the fluff. You start with status. Could you update me on the current status of this flight and the expected new departure time?
And then immediately pivot to solutions.
Right. Would it be possible to be rebooked on the next available option with confirmed seating?
And you should also know your rights. If you're stranded overnight, you shouldn't have to ask timidly, you ask for service recovery.
Yes. Given the length of the delay, could you provide any assistance with accommodation or meal vouchers? These are actionable, direct requests.
The flight delay example really highlights this. The speaker just bypasses complaining entirely.
They do. They walk up and say, hello, I see the flight has been officially delayed until tomorrow. Could you advise me on the next steps for rebooking?
And the interaction is so smooth. You haven't wasted their time complaining about the weather. You went straight to problem solving.
Which leads the staff to respond efficiently. They often offer the voucher or the rebooking before you even have to ask specifically for it. Your confidence directed the outcome.
Okay, let's shift gears to banking. Now, this is a zone where the jargon is Well, it's dense.
It's tricky. Transactions, accounts, loans. It can make anyone feel a little lost. This is where that structure we talked about becomes absolutely crucial.
So let's revisit that three-part formula. Problem or observation.
I noticed a charge.
Then request for assistance.
Could you help me understand it?
And finally, a polite addition.
I'd appreciate any guidance.
So why does starting with the observation work so well in a banking context?
It grounds the whole conversation, in fact, not emotion. If you start with, you guys made a mistake, the person on the other end immediately gets defensive.
Of course.
But if you start with, I noticed a specific transaction on the 15th that I don't recognize, you've given them data, you're framing it as a shared investigation.
You want them to help you solve your mystery, not defend their mistake.
Exactly. And this structure works for advanced needs too, not just problems.
Like applying for a loan.
Sure. You can say, I am preparing to apply for a mortgage. Could you tell me about the specific documentation required for the pre-approval process? Professional, clear, and direct.
The bank issue example shows how just being composed can prevent so much unnecessary anxiety. The first statement is so calm.
Hi, I reviewed my statement and noticed an unfamiliar withdrawal. Could you help me verify its origin and purpose?
And it turns out to be a forgotten subscription payment, a recurring charge.
Right. But even after it's resolved, the professional approach continues. You still follow up. You say, thank you for clarifying. For my records, could you please send a confirmation email detailing the transaction?
You resolve the issue and you get a paper trail. Smart.
Always.
Okay, moving on to conflict resolution. Let's talk about service centers. This is a place where people can really lose their cool.
It is, and it's a perfect example of how structured language can de-escalate a tense situation.
Yeah.
Even if you are genuinely frustrated, that politeness factor makes a huge difference.
So what are the key tactics here?
You shift the focus from the problem to the solution. Instead of saying, this repair is taking forever, you rephrase it.
Into a request for action.
Exactly. I understand the repair is complex. However, given how critical this item is for me, could you possibly expedite the process?
And if that doesn't work?
You ask for a practical alternative, a stopgap. If the timeline is still uncertain, would you consider offering a temporary replacement unit while the service is being completed?
It shows you're solution-oriented, not just complaining about the delay.
This same idea applies to hotels and restaurants. You know, the classic conflict points a wrong order, a room that wasn't cleaned.
That's where a little empathy can instantly lower the tension.
100%.
Yeah.
Using a phrase like, I understand mistakes happen, or I know you must be busy tonight, it just disarms the person you're talking to.
Makes them more receptive.
And then you present the issue as an observation, not an accusation. I think there might be a small issue with my order. Could we review it together?
Or in a hotel, I like this phrasing, it avoids saying the room is dirty, which sounds aggressive.
Right. You'd say, I noticed my room wasn't serviced as requested this morning. Could this be rectified while I'm out? You're focusing on the action, the fix.
And if they brought the wrong food?
You don't just send it back. You confirm the action you want. I ordered the chicken, and this appears to be the salmon. Would it be possible to replace this with my original order? Direct, polite, and focused on the right outcome.
Now for what might be the most intimidating environment of all. Bureaucracy.
Ah, yes. Public services, government offices, post offices. These demand a high degree of formality.
Your language has to project competence.
Absolutely. It needs to reflect that you respect the process, even if it's confusing. The goal is to show confidence while you're actively seeking their expert guidance.
So you use phrases that show that confidence but also respect their knowledge.
Instead of just admitting you're totally lost, you ask for procedural guidance. Could you guide me through the next steps of the application process?
Or if the paperwork is overwhelming, you narrow your focus. I've gathered most of the documents, but I'm not sure about document 3. Could you clarify what's required in that section?
It shows you've done the work, you just need a little clarification.
And for timelines, always ask with that formal tone. Could you advise me on the projected timeline for processing this application?
It ensures you get the information you need, and it shows the staff you're organized and serious.
We should also apply these same rules to remote communication, right? Phone calls, emails, online chats.
Yes, the rules are exactly the same. Even without face-to-face contact, clarity and structure are key. The absence of nonverbal cues means any ambiguity can be, well, dangerous.
So the focus has to shift to absolute clarity and creating confirmation loops.
Yes, If you get an important email update, you have to confirm it. I received the email about the account change. Could you clarify the new fee and when that will take effect?
And if a solution requires troubleshooting, you don't just try to figure it out alone.
Never. You ask for structured guidance. I'm having trouble with the new portal. Could you guide me step by step to resolve this?
And maybe the most important closing phrase for any remote interaction.
Getting it in writing.
Yep. I'd appreciate confirmation in writing once the process is complete. You need that paper trail to protect yourself later.
The key, written or spoken, is the same. Use conditional language, focus on precise information, and make sure every sentence is driving towards a clear outcome.
Wow, we have covered so much ground today. From negotiation to travel emergencies, banking, conflict resolution, and bureaucratic hurdles. But before we finish, there's one step we can't overlook.
The one that seals the deal and determines the lasting impression you make.
Expressing genuine gratitude.
It's the confident closer. Closing politely encourages better service in the future and reinforces your image as a reasonable, respectful person. Don't just grunt thanks.
Right. Use full appreciative statements. Acknowledge the emotional labor they put in. I really appreciate your patience and help in resolving this.
Or acknowledge their time. Thanks so much for taking the time to explain everything to me so clearly.
And if they navigated a really complex process for you.
I'm so grateful for your support and guidance through the application. It confirms their help was valuable and creates a positive memory of the whole interaction.
What a deep dive. I feel like you now have these practical, structured tools to handle almost any high-pressure situation English can throw at you.
You've really moved your English beyond the classroom and into the, unpredictable reality of daily life.
So, to summarize the most important rules.
Speak calmly and clearly. Use those structured frameworks, like the 3-part polite request. Rely on conditional language to de-escalate.
And always stay focused on precise, actionable solutions.
That's it.
You've mastered how to negotiate, how to handle travel and banking issues, and how to resolve conflicts, all while sounding competent and totally in control.
And that leads to a final thought for you to consider. Since we know professional politeness encourages better service and better outcomes, is it possible that mastering these advanced phrases doesn't just solve today's problem, but that it actually builds a powerful foundation for smoother, more efficient, and ultimately more successful interactions every single time you communicate in English?
Yeah.
That, I think, is the real power here. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're undertaking a really advanced mission.
Right.
We're moving way past, basic verb conjugation or simple travel phrases.
All the textbook stuff.
Exactly. Our focus is on mastering what you might call pragmatic language. Those subtle, really high-stakes English structures that decide whether you get a solution or a deal, or even just a good professional connection.
That's it exactly. I find so many advanced learners have the vocabulary, they have the grammar, but they still hit a wall in real interactions. And it's because they don't have that specific structured phrasing that native speakers use when things get tense.
Right, when there's pressure.
When there's pressure. Think about dealing with a bureaucracy or negotiating something sensitive. It's not about fluency, it's about framing.
So that's our mission for you today. We're going to try and provide a kind of shortcut.
A playbook.
A linguistic playbook, yes. For those high-stress moments, the travel chaos, a dispute with your bank, a crucial networking event, even just trying to make a complaint effectively. By the end of this deep dive, you'll have clear strategies to deploy language that sounds correct, yes, but also confident, composed, and completely goal-oriented.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with what might be the absolute peak stress environment.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Travel, when it all goes wrong.
Yep.
Your flight's canceled, the whole schedule's a mess, or the worst, your luggage is gone. In those moments, I think the tendency is to use very direct, maybe even reactive English.
It is, and that's often really counterproductive. When the stakes are high, your goal is actually to make your requests seem smaller.
Right.
Less demanding.
Which feels counterintuitive.
It does, but
Right.
that's why these indirect structured requests are the gold standard, instead of rebook my flight now, which just sounds like an aggressive command.
Right.
The advanced strategy is to use softeners.
So let's break that down. You're at the desk, your flight is canceled. What's the better approach?
You start by acknowledging the situation. Then you immediately pivot to a polite request for collaboration. Something like, my flight seems to have been canceled. Could you help me explore rebooking options?
I love that word, explore. It's not a demand.
Exactly. You're inviting them to work with you. Same thing if you've missed a connection. You seek guidance. Due to the delay, I missed my connecting flight. Could you advise me on the next available route?
Okay, and what about the ultimate frustration, the lost luggage? It's not just, where's my bag?
No, absolutely not. You need to use goal-oriented language. It's about recovery and, crucially, documentation.
So you'd say?
My checked luggage hasn't arrived. Could you assist me in initiating the location protocol?
That sounds so professional. Initiating the location protocol.
It signals you understand there's a process. And the truly advanced move is to manage the problem over time. You don't just beg for updates. You formalize it. You ask, could you set expectations for how frequently I will receive status updates? And this is critical. Would it be possible to obtain documentation confirming the delay for my insurance provider?
Okay, let's pause on that. Why is obtained documentation confirming the delay so much more effective than just, can I get a letter about the delay?
It's the precision.
Right.
When you use specific terms like documentation, confirming, insurance provider, you immediately tell the agent that you understand the formal procedures involved.
So they take you more seriously.
Instantly. They know it's not just a casual complaint, it's a request that requires an official action.
That makes perfect sense. Let's pivot that idea of precise language over to banking, another high-stakes area.
Oh, absolutely. Misunderstandings there can cost you real money.
So financial conversations demand that same level of professional vocabulary. Let's say you're opening an account.
Right. You don't just say, I want an account. You use guided language. I'm interested in opening a new account. Could you guide me through the required application process?
And what if you spot a problem? An unfamiliar charge on your statement.
You never accuse. You initiate a formal inquiry.
So instead of, what is this charge?
You say, I noticed an unfamiliar transaction on my statement. Could we review this item and could you help me verify its legitimacy?
Verify is a much stronger, more official word than just check.
It adds weight. And if you're asking about something like a loan, you have to be just as precise. Not how much does it cost, but could you walk me through the repayment schedule and outline the applicable annual percentage rate?
The common thread here seems really clear.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's lost luggage or a bank error, it's about being proactively precise, using professional vocabulary, and staying polite to kind of bypass the emotional frustration.
You got it. And by doing that, you sound composed, and more importantly, you force the conversation onto a structured, solution-oriented path.
So let's move from those crisis moments to, transactions. They're not simple ones. We're talking about advanced transactions where there's an element of negotiation.
Right. We're shifting from just being a consumer to using a bit of commercial strategy.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, in advanced shopping, you don't treat it as just a simple purchase. It's a mini negotiation. You're trying to maximize value, get better protection, and really understand what you're buying.
I like that phrase, maximizing value.
Yeah.
So for a big ticket item, you wouldn't just ask the price.
No, you'd ask for details first. Before I decide, could you provide a comprehensive overview of its key features and how they compare to similar models?
And then if you've done your research, you can start a negotiation.
Yes, and this is where conditional language is so powerful. You could say, I notice a competitor is offering a slightly lower price. Would you be able to match that if I committed to purchasing this today?
That conditional framing, the if I do this, would you do that, is so key, isn't it?
It is. It gives the salesperson a clear reason to say yes. Or you could push for value adds. If I proceed with the full purchase price, would you consider including an extended warranty?
And then after the deal, you lock down the protection.
Always, you have to confirm. What are the specific terms and conditions regarding the return or exchange policy?
Okay, but what if things go wrong after the purchase? You get home and the item is broken, you're frustrated.
And that's where you have to remember that first principle we talked about.
Collaborative language.
Collaborative language speeds up a solution. Even if you're angry, you phrase it gently but firmly.
Give me an example.
I seem to be experiencing an operational issue with this product. Could you assist me in determining whether a replacement or repair is the correct next step?
Right. The phrase is, assist me or determine the correct step. They immediately frame the staff member as a partner, not an obstacle.
Which brings us to general conflict resolution. A bad meal at a restaurant, an issue at a hotel, you have to minimize the confrontation.
So you never lead with blame.
Never. This is where it gets really interesting. You introduce the issue with soft framing. I wanted to politely bring a small issue to your attention. Could we take a moment to review this?
And if they brought you the wrong thing?
You frame it as a comparison, not their mistake. I believe this differs slightly from what I originally requested. Could we confirm the details of the order together?
This raises a question for me, though. Is there ever a time when being more direct is actually better in English?
That's a great point.
I mean, does that perception of polite change much by region, or maybe in a really fast-paced setting?
It does, but maybe not in the way you'd think. The structure of politeness, using words like could and would, that's pretty universal in formal English.
Okay.
But the intensity can change. In, say, a busy coffee shop, you can be more concise, but you still need to be structurally polite. So instead of I need the menu, it's could I please see the dessert menu?
So the direct command is almost never the right professional move.
In high-stakes problem solving, almost never you maintain that professional distance.
So when we're resolving the conflict, we use de-escalation language.
Right. Things like, I appreciate your patience while we work to resolve this.
And then you close by looking forward.
Always. Could you advise me on the necessary next steps and the expected time frame for correction? And then a simple thank you. It locks in that professional tone no matter what happened.
We've spent a lot of time on conflict, but this advanced English is just as important for building relationships.
Of course.
Social situations, networking. Here, the goal isn't resolution, it's engagement.
Networking is a strategic interaction. It really is. And the language you use can either open doors or close them.
So a flat introduction isn't enough.
No, you want to use language that invites a deeper conversation. So after you're introduced, you could say, could you elaborate a bit on your current projects and the challenges you're currently navigating?
That phrase, navigating challenges, is so much more sophisticated than just asking, so what do you do?
It is. And when you ask for opinions, you invite collaboration. I genuinely appreciate hearing your perspective on this recent market shift.
And then to secure the connection,
Yeah.
you need a clear follow-up plan.
Not just a vague promise. I found your insights particularly helpful. Would you be open to connecting on LinkedIn so we can stay current on each other's work?
What's fascinating to me is that the foundation for success in banking, in negotiation, in networking, it all seems to rest on one thing:
Clarity.
preventing confusion by achieving absolute clarity. Because vague English is, well, it's expensive.
It's so expensive. And the number one tool for clarity is knowing how to stop the conversation when you get lost.
Without looking incompetent.
Exactly. So if someone is explaining something complex, you have to be able to step in, politely but firmly.
How would you do that?
I'm following the general concept, but could you possibly explain that procedure step by step to ensure I don't miss any critical details?
Or if they use a word you don't know.
You have to ask. I'm not entirely sure I understand the term accrual. Would it be possible for you to clarify, perhaps by providing a practical example?
And you're not just asking them to clarify, you're specifically asking for an example.
Which is a very targeted request. And this leads right into the strategic use of polite requests in general. We're past I want.
We're using soft, conditional language.
We use softeners because they acknowledge the other person's time and effort. It's the difference between a command and a request for service. Would it be possible for you to process this by end of day?
Or could I kindly request that the documents be finalized before the meeting? That little word, kindly, does a lot of work.
It does. That slight hedging is a sign of advanced fluency. It shows respect and efficiency at the same time.
And this brings us to the final, and maybe most important, professional habit.
Confirmation.
Yes. This skill prevents, 90% of future mistakes?
At least. You have to repeat back what you heard to make sure you're both on the same page.
And it shows you were paying close attention, which is always professional. You can use anchoring phrases like, just to confirm my understanding, you're saying that the deadline has shifted to Friday.
Perfect. Or if they said something too fast, you can ask them to rephrase it. I want to make sure I grasp the full implication. Could you restate that key action point in another way for clarity?
That proactive confirmation. It's really the ultimate signal of competence in any high-stakes situation.
Yeah.
So we have completed a pretty comprehensive deep dive today.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And we focused not just on what the rules are, but on the strategic application of these advanced English structures. We've gone through travel crises, financial disputes, commercial negotiations, professional networking.
And across all of those scenarios, we really identified 3 pillars, I think.
Which are?
Clarity, what we called structural politeness, and proactive confidence.
Right.
And when you deploy that repertoire, your English just sounds natural, fluent, and commanding, even when you're under a lot of pressure.
We established that composure and structured language are absolutely essential for controlling outcomes, especially in those really frustrating situations like service delays. So here's a final thought for you to consider. If structured, polite requests are so much more effective in English for getting a resolution, how could intentionally applying that same professional structure and calm tone in your own native language change the outcome of your most difficult everyday negotiations?
That's a really interesting question.
The skill set we've talked about today proves that structured communication isn't just about language. It's fundamentally about establishing control and driving toward a successful resolution, no matter what language you're speaking.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really getting into something I think a lot of people struggle with. It's that gap, the one between knowing English, all the grammar, the vocabulary, and then actually using it when the stakes are high.
That is the critical pivot point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our whole mission today is to help you make that jump.
From just functional to, polished.
Exactly. Fluent and polished. We're going to give you the advanced linguistic scaffolding you need for those really high-stakes moments.
So we're talking about a tough meeting at work, maybe a negotiation.
Or even an unexpected emergency. We're not just talking about vocabulary lists here.
Right. This is about structured communication. It's about those subtle frameworks that confident native speakers just seem to use automatically.
They use them to solve problems, to diffuse tension, and, to ultimately get what they need. What's fascinating is that the advanced learner often has all the words they need.
They just can't deploy them under pressure.
Precisely. They lack the structure. See, fluency at this level, it isn't about speed. It's about precision and control. So today we're going to break down the exact phrases and, more importantly, why they work.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where should we start? I think maybe the workplace, because that's where the pressure can mount so fast.
Good idea.
You're dealing with a project delay, a client misunderstanding, something like that. You need to be efficient, but also polite.
And if you sound hesitant or worse, accusatory, you just lose all your credibility instantly.
So what's the framework?
Well, we analyze how confident communicators handle this, and they almost always rely on an impersonal logical structure. It completely bypasses blame.
Okay.
We can really distill it down to 3 steps. It's observation, then a polite request, and then a suggested solution.
Observation, polite request, suggested solution.
Yeah, and the power is all in that first step, starting with an impersonal observation.
Right, that's the key. Because instead of saying, you failed to deliver this, which is just blame, you take the person out of it completely. You focus on the fact.
Precisely. You lead with a softening statement, something impersonal like, I noticed an issue with the project timeline, or it appears there's a slight gap in our current strategy.
That's a tactic, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a linguistic tactic called hedging. It's all about maintaining professional face for everyone in the room.
So the goal isn't blame, it's just confirming reality and moving to action.
Exactly. So if you realize there's a big miscommunication, you don't panic. You just articulate the need for clarity. You might say, it seems there's a misunderstanding. Could we take 5 minutes to clarify the requirements together?
I like that. Clarify together. It's immediately collaborative.
It is. And then you move straight to the resolution. I believe we could address this by considering alternative approaches. That's a world away from just asking, so what went wrong?
Okay, let's run a quick scenario. A big report is 2 days late. The launch deadline is at risk. A novice might just fire off a panicked, angry email. How do you handle that conversation using this structure?
You structure it for immediate action. First, the observation. Hi, team. I noticed the final report submission is currently delayed. Simple fact.
No blame.
None. Then you combine the request and solution. Could we explore a quick solution to mitigate the impact on the deadline? Perhaps redistributing tasks or authorizing some overtime might help us catch up.
You're not complaining. You're proposing options.
And that immediately frames the whole conversation as problem solving. It makes you sound like a leader even if you're not. It's confident, it's polite, and most importantly, it gets things moving.
Okay, so that's the foundation for professional interaction. Where do we go from there?
Well, let's move from internal team stuff to external high-stakes interactions. specifically dealing with conflict.
Customer complaints.
Exactly. This requires a completely different linguistic gear.
Yeah, you're dealing with emotion now. You can't just use that same detached problem-solving tone. You have to, acknowledge first?
Acknowledge, then de-escalate. It's an advanced skill because you have to show you're listening, you have to acknowledge their frustration, and you have to do it politely enough to diffuse the tension.
All without making promises you can't keep.
Right.
So what are the key phrases, the ones that de-escalate things immediately?
You have to start by taking some ownership, even if it's organizational, not personal. The immediate phrases are acknowledgement phrases.
Like?
I understand your concern. Let's review the situation together. Or a more active apology. I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience this has caused.
And it's key that it's for the inconvenience caused, right? That makes it organizational.
Yes, that's a fantastic insight. The advanced speaker knows an apology is a tool of diplomacy. It's not always a confession of personal guilt.
Okay.
And then, the most effective speakers immediately pivot away from the emotion and toward logistics. They seek details. Could you provide more details on what happened so we can find the right solution?
It shifts the focus. It makes it a joint task.
It does. And you always need that professional closing, even if the problem isn't solved yet. You have to reinforce the relationship.
Something like,
We really value your feedback and will ensure this is addressed internally. It guarantees the customer feels heard, even if the final solution isn't, perfect.
that's a masterclass in just diffusing tension. Okay, so let's shift from resolving conflict to actually creating value, negotiation.
Yes. Whether it's a salary, a contract.
Or even just haggling at a market.
Right. Fluent negotiation relies on this structured, polite form of persuasion. It uses a lot of hedging and modal verbs like would and could.
So you're never demanding.
Never. You're always proposing an exploration of alternatives. The structure here is a bit different. It's appreciation or interest, then a suggestion or request, then your reasoning or an alternative, and finally, a polite closing.
The polite opening feels essential there. You want them to feel respected before you challenge their offer.
Absolutely. You lead with genuine interest. I'm very interested in this opportunity, and I really appreciate the offer. I was hoping we could discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement on the compensation.
And then you introduce the adjustment carefully. Not, I demand more, but...
I suggest, for instance, considering my experience and the current market rate, would it be possible to adjust the terms slightly?
Would it be possible? That invites a conversation, not a fight.
Exactly. And then you can offer an alternative. I'd like to propose something that might work for both of us. Perhaps we could adjust the start date in exchange for a slightly higher signing bonus.
Let's apply that to the classic salary negotiation. How does this keep it respectful but still, effective?
You start by thanking them for the offer. That shows respect. Then you gently request the adjustment based on your reasoning, your track record, your specific skills.
And even if they say no?
Even if they can't meet your number, you're ready to accept a compromise gracefully. Maybe a guaranteed salary review after 6 months. The advanced speaker uses a phrase like, "That's an acceptable compromise. Thank you for considering my request. I'm excited to move forward."
Polite confidence. It confirms the deal without sounding desperate.
That's it.
Okay, moving from that kind of nuanced environment to situations where nuance is a liability. Emergencies.
Right. When things go wrong, whether it's an injury or a major travel problem, calm, concise, actionable English is absolutely critical.
This is where structure really cuts through the panic, I imagine.
It does. But in a true critical emergency, a medical crisis, a fire advanced communication actually means abandoning some of the politeness we just discussed.
Oh, that's a fascinating insight.
You have to favor absolute declarative clarity. Time is the enemy of politeness here.
So where's the line? When does a polite request become a hindrance?
When immediate action is required, you drop the modal verbs. You lead with action. I need help immediately. There is a fire. Not, I was wondering if I could possibly trouble you for some assistance.
No hedging.
No. The key phrases are direct. There's an urgent issue at this location. I need you to call emergency services now. Or the simplest, most vital one. Please call emergency services. It's critical. Location and need. First and fast.
But most emergencies we face aren't life or death, right? They're those travel nightmares.
Missed connections, lost luggage, hotel problems, yes. And here, politeness becomes strategic again.
Okay.
When you're dealing with airline or hotel staff, confidence and clarity get you faster help. When your luggage is missing, you use structure to compel action. my luggage hasn't arrived. Could you initiate the trace process for me, please?
It's a polite demand for a specific action.
Exactly.
Right.
Or, if you miss a flight, you state the cause and the desired action clearly. I missed my connection due to the earlier delay. Could you please rebook me on the next available flight to London?
And what about the financial side, like compensation and things like that?
You have to use precise language for policy questions. Could you explain the reimbursement process for this and what documents I'll need?
That confidence to ask about policy, that's what separates the advanced speaker from someone who just, accepts whatever they're given.
You're asking for guidance on alternatives immediately. I'd appreciate guidance on all available options, including a different airline or rail transport. It shows you know your rights.
Okay, let's move to an area where that kind of technical clarity is mandatory. I'm thinking banking and finance.
Oh, absolutely. Ambiguity there is costly. Efficiency demands precision.
So you don't just say, something's wrong with my money.
No. You say, I noticed a discrepancy in my account statement from last Tuesday. Could you help me review and reconcile it?
That immediately signals you're serious and precise.
It does. And if you need instructions, you ask for clear steps. I'd like to make an international transfer. Could you guide me through the required verification steps and the associated fees?
You're asking for instruction and transparency.
Yes. And then comes the final critical step in any high-stakes interaction like this. The confirmation check.
The double check.
It's a self-defense mechanism.
Yeah.
You force the professional to verify what they just told you. Use phrases like, just to confirm, the money will be in the account by tomorrow afternoon. Correct.
Or,
before I approve this, I want to ensure all the details are correct. Could you verify the routing number 1 last time? These checks prevent expensive, irreversible mistakes.
that ability to just pause and confirm, that's the sign of a truly mindful communicator.
But advanced English isn't just for crises or contracts. It's just as vital in, say, social situations, networking.
Right, where fluency is a mix of politeness, curiosity, and confidence.
And the goal in networking is to establish a real connection, and quickly. This means you have to move beyond boilerplate questions.
So not just, what do you do?
No. You frame it with intellectual curiosity. After an intro, you might say, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm really curious about your work. Could you tell me more about your recent project? It just signals higher engagement.
Showing you've done a little research is a huge booster too, isn't it?
100%. I found your recent article on sustainability really interesting. Could you expand on the challenges you faced implementing that strategy? And then you close with a clear path forward.
The follow-up.
I really appreciate your insights. Could we maybe schedule a follow-up chat next week to explore this further?
That moves it from small talk to meaningful engagement.
Which is the whole point.
Yeah.
And this actually brings us to what I think is the single most essential advanced skill. It applies to every single scenario we've talked about.
Okay, what is?
Clarification and confirmation. Native speakers value clarity above almost everything. They respond much faster to people who actively manage ambiguity.
This is where so many learners fall down. They're afraid to admit they didn't understand something.
But the truly advanced speaker knows that not clarifying is the bigger risk.
So what are the tools?
Simple, polite phrases that pause the conversation for an accuracy check. If it's a small detail, you say, just to clarify one point, do you mean the deadline is Tuesday morning or Tuesday end of day?
And if it's a whole concept?
Use paraphrasing. I want to make sure I understand correctly. If I'm hearing you right, you're saying we need to prioritize the software update over the client meeting this week.
Paraphrasing guarantees you're on the same page.
It does. And finally, if something is too abstract, it is always professional to ask for an example. Having a little trouble visualizing that.
Yeah.
Could you provide a concrete example to help me grasp the context?
It shows your priorities getting it right, not just avoiding silence.
Exactly.
So when we pull this all together, what does it mean for someone trying to reach that high level? We've covered, 8 areas: professional problem solving, complaints, negotiation, emergencies, banking, social networking, and this core skill of clarification.
The main takeaway is this. Advanced English is not defined by how many niche words you know. It's defined by the confidence, the clarity, and the logical structure you bring to high-pressure moments.
So by practicing these structured patterns,
You're basically adopting the strategic communication style of the most fluent speakers. The structure is your shortcut. It's your key to mastering these dynamics in English.
The transition from just speaking English to mastering it professionally happens when you internalize these patterns. It's about being purposeful with every single phrase.
Which, it raises a final, maybe provocative question for you to think about.
Okay.
We've spent this whole time emphasizing how politeness and structure, using modal verbs, hedging, are essential for diplomacy and clarity. But if true fluency means mastering communication in all contexts, how might you need to consciously unlearn some of that politeness?
To be more direct.
To use absolute declarative directness, to ensure survival or ethical clarity in those really extreme, time-sensitive situations where being too deferential could actually be detrimental. When is politeness a superpower, and when is it a dangerous constraint? Something to think about.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Our mission here is to take complex knowledge and, distill it into something you can use right away. Today, we're doing a deep dive into advanced English fluency, but we're leaving the grammar books on the shelf.
Yes, definitely.
We're focusing on the language you need when the stakes are high. When your career, your travel plans, or even your finances depend on sounding not just correct, but truly effective, persuasive.
That's absolutely right. So many learners hit this plateau where their vocabulary is fine, but when they step into a fast-paced meeting or a tough negotiation, their communication just lacks the necessary authority, the polish.
Right.
And what we found is that the true difference, that jump from intermediate to advanced English, it's about adopting a specific architecture, a structure, a tone, and certain politeness markers that native speakers use all the time.
Okay, so let's unpack this architecture.
Yeah.
We're talking about a kind of universal toolkit for communication that works in the boardroom, at the airport, at the bank. Our goal for you today isn't just about speaking English. It's about mastering the very structure of confidence.
And every single tip we're giving you is designed to be actionable. I mean, these are phrases you can use before the end of the day.
All right, let's start where the pressure is usually highest. Professional power plays. So, meetings and negotiations. If you have great ideas, advanced English is what makes sure those ideas actually get heard.
Indeed. Meetings, for instance, they often get derailed because nobody's really managing the flow. To control the narrative, to clarify things effectively, you need structured phrases, not just, a big vocabulary.
So getting past the basic, okay, let's start. What are the phrases that really command attention and provide that structure?
Exactly. You want to frame the discussion right from the top. Something like, could we review the agenda before we start?
Okay.
Or if the discussion starts to drift, you can pull it back, but politely.
Yeah.
I'd like to clarify a few points regarding the project before we move on.
And at the end?
At the end, you lock in the results.
Yeah.
Let's summarize the key takeaways before concluding, just to ensure we're all aligned.
What's fascinating here is the core structure you keep pointing to. It seems to always be a kind of three-part model. A polite request, then your reasoning, and then a clear suggestion.
That is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
That structure lets you bring up sensitive issues without sounding, demanding or accusatory.
Right.
For instance, that classic scenario where a project timeline is just completely unrealistic.
Right. You can't just say, this is impossible.
No, that just creates a fight. A non-native speaker might even say something very direct, like, we are running late, we need to move tasks.
Yeah.
It's correct grammatically, but it sounds...
A little blunt, a bit amateurish.
Right. But a fluent approach, using that three-part structure, would sound more like this. I noticed the project timeline may be tight. That's your reasoning. Could we consider redistributing some tasks? That's your polite request. To ensure we meet the deadline effectively. And there's the suggestion, the shared benefit. You observe, you propose, and you justify, all in one smooth, professional breath.
I see. So that framing, it shifts the problem from being your complaint to being our shared strategic goal. So let's take that structure and apply it to negotiations, which, let's be honest, happen every single day, whether you're talking salary or just your team's workload.
Yeah. In a high-stakes negotiation, you have to stay calm and clear, even when you're miles apart. The key is to lead with validation before you propose your alternative.
That's a subtle but really important shift.
It is. Try this. I understand your perspective regarding the budget constraint. There's your validation.
Okay.
However, I'd like to propose an alternative that could work for both parties, perhaps adjusting the scope slightly to fit within that range.
But let me just challenge that for a second. Doesn't all this politeness, this structure, doesn't it risk sounding a bit passive? Especially if you're dealing with someone really aggressive who doesn't want to compromise.
That is an excellent point.
Uh,
And it's not about being passive. It's about being strategically assertive.
yeah.
By using conditional words like could we explore or I'd like to propose, you signal that you're operating on a professional level. You're basically forcing them to meet you there.
It's like a subtle power play.
It is. If you stay structured,
Yeah.
you control the tone of the discussion. The goal is always to move towards an outcome. That's why a phrase like, could we discuss options to reach a mutually beneficial solution, is so powerful. It defines the goal of the chat before you even get into the details.
Okay, I think I'm seeing the pattern now. The structure lets you control the process, even if you don't control the immediate outcome.
Precisely.
So we've seen how this structure helps you lead a conversation. But what about situations where the pressure is external, when time or money is on the line? Can that same calm, structured approach survive, say, a delayed flight or a banking error?
It absolutely has to. This is where fluency really earns its keep. Let's take travel. We all know that feeling. You're tired, you're jet lagged, and your bag is missing.
Or your flight's just been canceled.
Right. And your brain just defaults to panic or maybe rushed, broken English. But calm, precise English will always solve the problem faster.
Okay, so give us the structured approach for when you're at the airport counter and things are going wrong.
Instead of a frantic complaint, you frame it as a request for their expert advice. So if your flight is delayed, you say, my flight has been delayed. Could you advise on the next available option to get to London?
I see. And for the missing luggage.
Same idea. My luggage has not arrived. Could you help me locate it? The tag number is 12345.
You're using that same structure again. You state the fact the bag is missing, you ask for help politely, and the goal is to solve the problem together. But what if the process is just stalling?
If the agent is moving slowly, you can gently prompt them without being aggressive. I am concerned about missing my connection. Is there a way we can maybe expedite this process? It's firm, but it's still respectful.
That's a huge insight for high-stakes travel issues. And I imagine the same principle applies even more in banking, where, one mistake can be a really big deal.
Oh, absolutely. When it's your money, you have to eliminate any ambiguity. Let's say you see a charge on your account that looks weird or fraudulent.
You frame it as a joint effort to figure it out.
Exactly. I noticed an unexpected charge on my account. Could you assist me in reviewing it and figuring out where it came from? Or if you're asking about something complex, you say, could you walk me through the steps for an international transfer?
It seems like with finance, clarification is the ultimate insurance policy, especially when you're talking about numbers, fees, timelines.
It is. Proactive clarification prevents so many costly errors. You have to use confirmation phrases before you finalize anything. The second the banker gives you some complex information, you have to confirm you understood it.
So what are the best, most professional phrases for that?
You introduce the confirmation up front. It shows you were listening. Just to confirm, the total transfer fee will be $50 and the funds will arrive by tomorrow, correct?
Okay.
Or if the details were really dense, you can generalize a bit. I want to make sure I understand correctly. The high-yield account needs a minimum balance of $10,000. Is that right?
That ability to just quickly synthesize and confirm information, that really is a sign of advanced communication, whether you're talking to a banker or an IT guy.
For sure.
Let's shift gears a bit to consumer confidence and social connection. Shopping fluency is something people overlook, but it's really about sophisticated negotiation, not just pointing and asking, how much?
Exactly. This is where those negotiation skills come into play outside the office. Let's say you want to get a better deal on something expensive. You have to leverage information strategically.
So using outside information as the reasoning part of our three-part structure.
Precisely. You don't demand, you compare. I noticed a similar item elsewhere for 10% less. Would it be possible for you to match that price?
And what about trying to bundle things?
Same concept. If I purchase this laptop today, could you maybe include the protective case at a discount?
Okay, and what if something is actually wrong with the item? Handling a complaint about a defective product that requires structure so it doesn't just turn into an argument.
Right. The structure removes the emotion. You just present the facts and ask for a solution together. This item seems to be defective. Could we review it together? And could it be replaced or repaired? You're focused on the fix, not the frustration.
That smooth transition from transactional English to social English is so important. Fluency in, say, a networking event isn't about perfect grammar. It's about being engaging, being curious.
Right. The goal is to build a relationship. You use these advanced structures to show genuine interest. So instead of the simple, what do? You try, it's a pleasure to meet you. Can you tell me more about your work? It's so much more open-ended and inviting.
And if you have a great conversation and want to signal that you value their time,
You structure the follow-up. I really appreciate your insights on market trends. Could we maybe follow up next week to discuss this a bit more? The phrase, I appreciate, and the conditional, could we just protect professionalism and respect?
and in a more casual chat,
Just signal you're listening and you're curious. Wow, that's fascinating. Could you share a few more details about that?
if we distill everything we've talked about today, from negotiating a contract to asking about a bank charge, it feels like there are two universal skills that are the foundation for all of this: making polite requests and confirming details.
Those two skills are the absolute pillars of the structure we've been discussing. Making a polite request is, grammatically simple, but the advanced speaker uses specific structures to signal respect and professionalism. It's the difference between sounding like an intern and sounding like a manager.
So to move beyond can I have plan, what are the power phrases and why do they work so well?
Well, this is where we get into conditional and passive structures. They're just inherently less demanding. So instead of, can you provide the document, which is very direct.
Yeah, a command almost.
Right. You use conditional language like, would it be possible to provide the document? By using would or could, you create a little distance. You acknowledge that the request requires some effort on their part.
That makes so much sense. You're acknowledging their autonomy, which probably makes them more willing to help you.
Exactly. Another really powerful one is deferential phrasing. I'd appreciate it if you could kindly send me those details by tomorrow. By leading with, I'd appreciate it, you frame the whole thing as a favor, which helps ensure your need is met while maximizing respect.
And finally, let's just revisit that second critical skill: clarification. The ultimate defense against misunderstanding.
It cannot be overstated. Native speakers, especially professionals, do this constantly. You never assume. And you frame your need to confirm as a check on your own understanding.
So the other person doesn't feel like you weren't paying attention.
Precisely. I want to make sure I understand correctly. The deadline is Tuesday at noon, correct? Or if the info was a sequence of steps. Just to confirm, do you mean we submit the contract first and then the payment?
And the classic.
The classic all-purpose phrase. If I understood correctly, you're saying we should hold off on the launch until the third quarter. This smooth ability to confirm details works absolutely everywhere.
So what does this all really mean for you, the listener? We started by saying we were going beyond grammar, and we've ended up defining advanced fluency as a kind of strategic framework, a system for managing communication when you're under pressure.
That really is the key takeaway. We've covered strategy for professional settings, negotiation, travel, banking, social connections. And the essential ingredients are not just a big vocabulary. They are the structured application of confidence, clarity, and politeness.
It's about being effective, not just being accurate. Advanced English isn't about using the biggest words. It's a framework for solving problems and managing expectations.
And it's a skill you can start improving immediately.
So, here's your provocative thought for the week. We've covered dozens of specific, structured phrases today. They're designed to build compromise, manage stress, or clarify complex information. So I want you to choose 3 of them, maybe one for a polite request, one for clarification, and one for a negotiation, and really commit to using them in your conversations tomorrow. How does shifting your communication from just being correct to being genuinely professional and persuasive change the dynamic of your interactions? That is your next step to true fluency. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're on a pretty critical mission, actually. We want to elevate your English fluency beyond just, basic grammar. We're talking about getting into the realm of truly advanced natural communication.
Right.
And this isn't just about learning more words, it's about mastering the strategy of handling real-life complexity with total confidence.
That's the absolute core of today's deep dive. We've looked at our sources, and they really push beyond simple words to focus on these communication frameworks.
Frameworks, okay.
Yeah. We're looking at material that connects high-level phrases for things like networking and meetings with the strategies you absolutely need for high-stakes situations.
Like travel emergencies or financial stuff.
Exactly. Crucial financial transactions.
So the goal here for you listening is to take all those advanced phrases you might have learned and combine them into a delivery that is, well, that's clear, polite, and just unequivocally confident.
We want your English to sound natural, like a native speaker who has actually thought through their request and knows how to get results, but, respectfully and efficiently.
So the big shift we're dissecting is moving from just knowing English to proactively using it.
Using it to solve problems, to engage, and this means you need reliable frameworks that guarantee clarity and professionalism no matter what the topic is or how much pressure you might be feeling.
Okay, so let's unpack this foundational idea. When most people think about fluency, they get fixated on perfect grammar.
Or speed.
Or speed, right. But the source material makes this powerful and kind of surprising counter-argument.
Which
is that confidence delivered through control is the actual backbone of advanced fluency.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The sources are so clear that even if your grammar isn't, flawless, that controlled delivery makes your English sound inherently more natural, higher status even.
It's about managing the interaction.
Not about avoiding mistakes. That's the key.
And they give us some incredibly practical tips to start using this right away. The first one is so simple, but it's transformative.
Speak slowly and clearly.
Exactly. We all assume rushing equals fluency, but slowing down, it actually buys you brain time. You can select the right words, the right structures. Native speakers just want clarity.
If you rush and stumble, you sound panicked. But if you speak clearly and deliberately, even with a pause,
You sound thoughtful.
you sound thoughtful. A pause doesn't mean you're confused. It means you're selecting a complex thought.
But wait, I have to ask, if I pause too much, won't I sound less competent, like I'm struggling for the word?
That's a great question, and the sources totally anticipate it. This is where the idea of the polite filler comes in.
Okay.
So you don't use or hooker. You use these structured professional phrases to bridge those thinking gaps. Instead of just silence, you signal your intent.
So you'd say something like,
Let me clarify my position. Or, if I understand correctly, we should prioritize.
that's the key distinction. The polite filler isn't just buying time.
No.
It keeps the connection going and boosts your perceived professionalism at the same time.
Precisely. And if you look at the advanced phrases they recommend for professional confidence, you see that thoughtfulness is built right into the structure.
Give me an example.
Okay, so I believe this approach could work efficiently. What are your thoughts?
Right. It's collaborative. You're making a proposal, but also respecting the other person.
It's totally collaborative. Compare that to just saying, this approach is best. Which one sounds more advanced? It's the one that invites a discussion.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the sources give some other great examples for managing the conversation. Things like, based on my understanding of the data, I'd like to suggest.
Or my favorite one for getting past a roadblock, could we explore alternative solutions together?
These phrases are almost managerial. They show you're an active, confident participant who is steering the conversation.
Right. So if that controlled confidence is the foundation, then structured problem solving. That's the true test of real-life English mastery.
The crucible, yeah.
Because real life doesn't give you neat little conversations. It throws challenges at you. A project failure at work, a huge travel delay.
And in those high-pressure moments when emotions are running high, our speech gets fragmented.
It does.
And this is where the source material brings in a predictable structure to, ensure you stay clear and respectful even under all that stress.
The sources detail this really crucial four-step sequence. And this framework is so essential because it immediately shifts the entire interaction from an emotional fight to a professional negotiation.
Okay, let's walk through that structure because it sounds really powerful. Step 1 is observation.
You start neutral. I noticed, or it seems there's a challenge with. You're just stating the facts.
Okay. Then step 2 is a gentle proposal.
Right. You suggest a course of action using cooperative language, like could we or shall we review?
Step 3 is the suggestion.
This is where you offer your preferred outcome. I believe this might work because...
And the final step, which I feel like this is the one people forget.
So often.
Yeah.
The polite acknowledgement.
Thank you for your help in advance, or I appreciate your attention to this.
Think about a concrete example, like a software release that's just failed.
Okay.
The unstructured, panicked way is, the system is broken, fix it now.
Right, which gets you nowhere.
Exactly. The structured approach uses that framework, it sounds like. I notice a critical challenge with the process flow. Could we find a solution immediately? I suggest we roll back the last feature, as I believe this might stabilize the platform. Thank you for addressing this so quickly.
Wow. That is a night and day difference.
Isn't it?
The second one sounds like it came from a leader, not a victim of the problem.
It replaces that frustrated, broken speech with clear, actionable steps. It's a difference between demanding results and getting them through professional cooperation.
And even in those tough spots, that final layer of politeness and clarity, like using a phrase such as, "Thank you for your patience while we resolve this matter," it just lowers the tension for everyone.
So now we move into these high-stakes domains. We're talking about travel and finance. Scenarios where being precise isn't just a bonus, it's absolutely critical. Small misunderstandings here can cause huge problems.
Let's start with travel. The airport desk, a hotel lobby, a real emergency. You need calm, precise, polite English to cut through all the noise.
Right. Rushing and panicking won't get you a better seat.
It'll get you nowhere fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, you use this structured phrasing that's focused on seeking guidance. So if your flight is rescheduled, you don't demand, you ask. My flight has been rescheduled. Could you guide me to the next available option?
So the focus is on their ability to help you, not their failure.
Exactly. Or let's say your luggage is missing. Your phrasing needs to be clear and action-oriented. My luggage is missing. Could you track it, please?
And then you follow up.
Right. I also like to know the compensation options for this inconvenience. You see how you smoothly move from the immediate problem to the next necessary step.
Mm-hmm. And what about a real emergency?
When it's a genuine emergency, the phrasing has to shift. It becomes a clear priority statement. You drop the extra fluff, but you maintain control.
So the sources recommend something like,
Please call medical assistance immediately. Or for a reservation crisis. I need urgent help with this matter. Could you prioritize my request?
that direct, concise language, it signals the severity without you having to sound distressed.
And that's vital for getting quick, effective help. And that same need for clarity applies, tenfold when we're talking about banking.
Oh, absolutely. If your language is ambiguous here, you're risking delays, mistakes with your money.
You have to be precise in every single interaction. An advanced phrase would be politely flagging an issue. I notice an unfamiliar transaction on my statement. Could you review it?
Or proactively asking for information.
Yes, like, could you guide me through the requirements for international transfer options?
And confirmation is just, it's non-negotiable here.
Absolutely. Never assume the agent understood. You have to confirm the details with strong questions.
Like, just to confirm, the transfer will complete today, correct?
Perfect. Or, I want to ensure all details are correct before we proceed. Could you verify the recipient account number? That level of thoroughness protects you, and it shows maximum professionalism.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about consumer and social interactions. This is where that same structured, polite English really pays off.
It does. It improves your results and, your social standing. We're moving beyond just asking for the price when we're talking about shopping.
Right. Advanced shopping fluency is about skilled negotiation and resolving complaints.
And this is where you practice those polite request structures we talked about earlier.
So for negotiation, instead of being confrontational, you're opening a door to a deal.
Exactly. I saw a similar product elsewhere for a slightly lower price. Would it be possible for your store to match that?
Or, I'm prepared to buy this today. Would you include an extra item if I purchase now? They're polite inquiries.
Not rigid demands. And the same goes for handling complaints. If a product is defective, your language needs to be firm but respectful.
Use that observation structure again.
Right. I believe there's been a mistake with my order. It seems the color is incorrect. Could we review the invoice together? Or, more directly, this product appears defective. Could it be replaced?
The politeness just keeps it from escalating, which means you get your needs met faster.
Then we get into social situations, networking. And here, success is driven by confidence and, this is critical, curiosity.
People love talking about themselves.
They do. And advanced fluency means knowing how to prompt them. You use phrases that show genuine interest, that acknowledge their work.
So not just flattery.
No, it's about opening a real dialogue. I enjoyed reading about your recent project. Could you share a few more details about how you implemented that?
And in more casual chats, curiosity keeps the conversation flowing. That's fascinating. Could you elaborate on that?
Or I haven't heard that perspective before. Tell me more. These phrases show you're deeply engaged, which is the hallmark of advanced social communication.
And the one theme that connects all of this, professional, social, all of it,
It's the power of the polite request. Softening your requests is so important. If you sound aggressive, people just resist.
So instead you frame it as a possibility.
A collaborative possibility. Would it be possible to arrange a follow-up meeting? Or would you mind assisting me with this? It shows respect, and it maximizes your chance of getting a quick yes.
All right, let's touch on a common pitfall we see, even with really advanced learners, and that's the tendency to just assume you understood everything.
Exactly. In any professional setting, misunderstandings happen when you don't confirm what you've heard.
So our source material really emphasizes that proactive clarification and confirmation, they're essential pillars of professionalism.
They show that you value accuracy more than you fear, admitting you might have missed something.
So you need to internalize these advanced clarification phrases. You have to move past just saying, I don't understand.
You say, just to clarify the timeline, do you mean we need the report by Friday at noon?
Or if you're dealing with someone who speaks really fast or with an accent, you have to be assertive but polite.
Right. Use that polite request structure. I apologize, but could you repeat that last point more slowly, please?
There's one phrase I really like. If I understood correctly, you're saying that we need to prioritize X over Y. Is that accurate?
That one is so powerful because it puts the responsibility for understanding on both of you. It lets them correct you gently without making you feel like you failed.
It builds trust. It signals you're an engaged listener who cares about precision.
And this professionalism also extends to how you agree with someone. Just nodding or saying, I agree, is fine.
It's basic.
It's basic. But using a structured phrase like, I completely agree with your point about the market dynamics, that shows a much higher level of engagement in a technical discussion.
Wow. We have covered a huge amount of ground today. We went from the internal mindset of confidence all the way to the external framework of professional clarification.
We did.
Right.
We analyzed why that controlled delivery, the structure in problem solving, the precise phrasing for travel and banking,
The psychology of polite negotiation and the professionalism of clarification.
why they're the keys to true advanced fluency.
The major takeaway here seems really clear. Fluency is about confidence, structure, politeness, and clarity. It's just not about reaching some kind of unattainable grammatical perfection.
And the payoff for practicing these structured phrases is tangible. It's immediate. You will notice a profound, rapid improvement in how other people perceive your English.
You'll sound natural, professional, and advanced.
Right away.
Yeah.
Because you're operating with a clear framework.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. If adopting these structures, making just one polite request or one clarifying phrase each day leads to better service, faster results, and higher trust, what might be the profound, long-term professional implication of adopting this level of consistent, confident communication throughout your entire career?
Something to mull on.
If today's episode helped you see that English fluency isn't just about big vocabulary or strict grammar rules, it's about real-life communication, confidence, and the phrases you use every single day, then you're already one step ahead.
Exactly. And if you want your English to sound natural, confident, and truly advanced, then don't stop here. The more you practice with real conversations, expressions, and daily life situations, the faster your fluency grows. Consistency is everything.
So if you found this episode helpful, make sure you thumbs up the video, comment speech balloon your favorite part or the phrase you're going to use today, and subscribe bell to stay connected with all our daily English learning episodes.
And most importantly, if you want to listen to the full extended podcast with deeper examples, advanced phrases, and complete breakdowns, the link is waiting for you in the comments section.
Click the link, enjoy the full episode, and take your English to the next level starting today. See you in the next lesson.